Hi guys, this is JSON.com and I'm here with the ASUS ZenFone 3 Max for review. This is a battery phone that's metallic and compact on a budget. It was launched in August last year and it's priced at around $150 on various retailers. It's got a 4100 mAh battery and it's the successor to the ASUS ZenFone Max. It's called the ASUS ZenFone 3 Max. Now, as far as the design is concerned, it looks like a fairly typical phone, offering pretty much the same approach as the Yumi Touch. Also a few Meizu, Xiaomi and Huawei phones. Basically a rounded back, a fingerprint scanner here and a metal unibody approach. And we also get a plastic lid here and here for the sake of antenna integration. And I also have to mention that this phone has a pretty good grip in the hand. However, being pretty wide for a 5.2 incher, it's not exactly very easy to use with a single hand. What I noticed is that its side buttons are pretty comfy to press and to touch. And other than that, well, when it comes to the size, it measures 8.55 mm in thickness and weighs 160 grams, certainly on the light side compared to other battery phones. Especially its predecessor, the ZenFone Max, was 202 grams in weight, which is quite a lot. Now this is a pretty standard phone, available in grey, silver, gold or rose gold. It has a 2.5D glass panel at the front and it's quite compact but generic in design. At least it's reasonably comfy. Now as far as the screen goes, it's a 5.2 inch IPS LCD with a 720p resolution and pretty okay sized bezels. Now the actual experience is going to be checked out once you access the gallery and have a gander at the HD video playback in a loop. So this is our HD video playback sample and let's have a glance at it. So we're dealing here with pretty good brightness, a crisp image, a rather okay contrast and wide view angles, as well as reasonably calibrated colors. We put the screen under the microscope and discovered that the arrangement of the pixels is of the RGB stripes variety. This is it. And then we did a lux meter test and achieved 466 lux units, which is great for any phone. It surpasses the ZenFone Max's 304 lux and also the ASUS ZenFone 3 Deluxe, quite the performance. Now we also have settings for this very same screen, so let's find them. Okay, so we go here and go into display. We got brightness level, font style, font size, wallpaper, sleep, LED indicator and a blue light filter. So if you're planning on doing some reading or using the phone before bed, this takes care of your needs. And also it has 5 levels of application of that feature. Overall an excellent screen. And now let's move on to other hardware. So let's see what we're dealing with here. So we're dealing here with a smartphone that relies on a MediaTek quad-core CPU. Is the MT6737 processor, clocked at 1.25 GHz, and it's also a 64-bit CPU, just in case you were wondering. And we also get the pretty old Mali T720 GPU and 2 or 3 GB of RAM, depending on the phone version, as well as 16 or 32 GB of storage, plus a micro SD card slot. My experience with the phone was pretty solid most of the times, but some of the times it involved some lag when opening apps, when downloading stuff and opening apps, and when having multiple apps in the queue. So a bit of lag may appear sometimes. And also we lost some frames and had a little bit of delay when playing our benchmark game Riptide GP Renegade. Yes, it does look nice, but the water may get choppy sometimes, and we also experience a slight trace of lag. As you can see, it takes its time to enter the game, which is already not a very good sign. By the way, pretty nice acoustics here. Okay, so here we go. A bit laggy even in the menus. And start. Okay, so far so good. The visual effects are nice, the water looks okay, but once you get to racing, you'll see a missed frame here and there. The water is a bit choppy and the way we entered it is not exactly at the proper and ideal frame rate. Of course, there are thousands of other games you can play without lag, and even this one, if you do the proper graphic settings, it should run better. Now, performance is also measured with the aid of benchmarks, and we also have those, so let's see how that plays out. Of course, we did a quadrant test, which is this one here, and in quadrant we achieved a result that's superior to the Huawei Honor 6 Plus, but scores below the old HTC Desire A116, so not very impressive. And we also did an Antutu test, and let's see how that played out. Searching for Antutu, he will be here somewhere. Here we go. And in Antutu, this pretty not impressive score surpassed the HTC Desire 10 Lifestyle and the LED TV 1S, but scored below the Huawei Honor 5X. In general, the graphical results were the one that pulled the phone down. I'm talking about 3D Mark Aston Unlimited, I'm talking about GFX Bench, where it was placed on the 90th spot. So this CPU and GPU combo is a bit on the old side, but for the low price, that was to be expected. As far as the temperature is concerned, we don't have any overheating here. 32 degrees Celsius after running GFX Bench, and after running the game you saw before, 35.8 degrees Celsius, so no overheating, although after long periods of charging or gaming it does get a bit hot. Now on the battery front, it's a bit of a battery phone, 4100 mAh, power bank function, so you can charge other phones using the USB OTG bundled cable, and on paper we get 20 hours of 3G talk time or 18 hours of Wi-Fi browsing, but let's leave the paper alone and see how we did. Okay, so our continuous HD video playback in a loop test brought us to 10 hours and 40 minutes, which is just okay for a battery phone. We had higher expectations for a battery phone. It's almost half of the ZenFone Max, 19 hours and 35 minutes, that one. We also scored below the iPhone SE and above the Moto Z and LG G5 at least. Better result in PC Mark. Actually, this is the 10th placed phone, not bad, 10 hours and 46 minutes, while the ZenFone Max had 16 hours and 24 minutes. At least we beat the Google Pixel XL, but scored below the Motorola Moto Z Play. Charging was done in steps by us, so 5 minutes equals 3% battery, 15 minutes 9% battery, and 30 minutes 19%. 1 hour is 35%, and a full charge is achieved in 3 hours and 36 minutes. This is superior to the ZenFone Max by about 1 hour, and now we also have other options for the battery. I'm talking about the battery saving ones, so let's look them up. So we got battery here, got standby intelligent power saving, and of course battery optimization, but there is more to it. There's something called power management with the following power saving modes. So we got performance, normal power saving, super saving and customized, as well as the option to switch them on by schedule, and a customized mode, as I said, that lets you perform tweaks. You can also scan for battery problems and get suggestions. Overall, it's a good battery, but by battery phone standards, we expect it a tiny bit more. I'm happy with the PC Mark result though. Now on the acoustic front, we are promised high-end technology, Ice Power enhancement. As far as I know, Ice Power comes from Bang & Olufsen. Anyways, we also have a dual microphone for noise cancelling. No headphones bundled, but we do get FM radio and the handy Audio Wizard app with its usual modes. Movie, gaming, music, outdoor, smart and vocal, and music has a few extra options of its own. Volume, bass, treble, dialogue, and an EQ with 5 custom channels. Let's leave it on music, and I'm going to have to rely on the Play Music application to actually listen to some tunes. So here we go. As you can hear, there's a bit of muffling on a flat surface. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with the volume, and I would say the bass is rather so-so. The keys and voice are nicely rendered, at least there's no distortion. Let's see what the decibel meter had to say. So we go here, and we actually got a couple of results. The biggest one was 93 decibels when playing the game Riptide GP Renegade, while when testing the phone with an audio sample, 82 decibels at the back and 70 decibels at the front, so it loses about 12 decibels when placed on a flat surface. However, the biggest result, the 93 decibels one, is very good. It's top 5 material and beats the Galaxy S6, for example. Everything checks out okay on the acoustic front, well, maybe except for the muffling. And now if you go here to sound, there's enhancement. in the form of the BES options. Now let's go to the cameras. So we take selfies with a 5 megapixel shooter, we take main shots with a 13 megapixel shooter, so 13 megapixels, 5p Largan lens and an LED flash here, plus pixel master technology. Now let's check out the camera interface. Got the handy cube here. The camera app starts, as you can see, rather slow, taking its time. However, the focus was pretty fast. I'm talking about autofocus, I'm talking about manual focus. They were quite okay. Now, picture taking is a bit on the slow side, and the zoom may seem fluid, but it will leave you with some details lost in the process. As usual, for a Zen UI interface, quite a few modes. Auto HDR beautification, super resolution, takes 52 megapixel shots, low light, QR code, night effect, selfie panorama and time-lapse, plus a slew of options, ISO, white balance, focus and so forth, and you can only shoot video up to 720p. There is no trace of Full HD here. So now let's go to the gallery and see how the camera actually did during the day and during the night time. So it was early February on quite a sunny day, and we registered a bunch of shots with pretty good clarity. Even in the landscape shots, you will zoom in and see that these ducks were pretty well rendered. I have to admit, this camera was a bit above my expectations. It reminds me of the Sony Xperia XA, which is also affordable and also surpassed my expectations. Pretty good colors. Every once in a while there's a trace of over-sharpening and over-saturation, but nothing major and nothing serious. We had some very good close-ups and pretty good details here, and even the selfies were impressive. I would say that the selfies managed to surprise me more than the main camera shots. Don't mind my frown, it was a very sunny day. Good colors, nice clarity. You cannot find one truly missed shot here, which is rather nice. So the face is quite okay, all the wrinkles are there, and very nice close-ups. I'm happy with that. So good landscape shots, good colors, nice exposure, no problem with the dynamic range or white balance, and the panorama was rather good at 9660 over 944 pixels, and this one is an HDR that makes things a bit too white. In the end, it surpassed expectations. That's rather good. It's a bit above the predecessor, the ZenFone Max, and slightly below the ZenFone 3, but not by as much as one would expect. This is the daytime capture. Now the low light capture is actually not that bad. Of course, not that bad when compared to those cheap Chinese phones priced below $200. The flash makes things a bit too white. There is a bit of blur here, big halos, violet hue, but some of these shots have okay clarity, close-ups are good, and in the end everything checks out reasonably, once again compared to those $200 and below $200 Chinese phones. Of course, doesn't hold a candle to what the ZenFone 3 models achieve, and I'm guessing it's not very far from the predecessor either. Now, this is the photo capture. The video capture is something else entirely. So it's MP4, 720p, and as you can probably figure out, not that impressive. 30 frames per second, 11 megapixel bitrate, slightly burnt by the powerful sun. The clarity is rather okay, and when you zoom in, you lose quite a few details. And in the distance, the details are rather poor, so keep that in mind. What I liked is the exposure change, and even the electronic stabilization was rather reasonable, but not more than that. The microphone cannot face the wind, and a lot of burn has been found here, and some grain as well. It's below the Xperia XA by about 3%, by about 10%, and clearly below the ASUS ZenFone 3, and let's say maybe it fights the ZenFone 2, but last year we had the demo unit of the ZenFone 2 and it was not exactly optimal. Now during the night things get a bit worse and unimpressive. 15 frames per second, 10 megapixel, shaky video, blurry, foggy, ghosting. So basically don't go taking videos in the night with this phone. Videos in the day, let's say acceptable, not more than that. So we're done with the camera. The pre-installed browser, where the pre-installed browser is Chrome. Here we go, and let's load up gsmdom.com. Chrome is quite slow on this device, which is confirmed by its SunSpider benchmark, which achieved almost 2000 points, and the lower the worse result it is, and that's not exactly impressive. What's impressive is the input, generous keys as far as spacing goes, and also trace of swipe going on here. Now let's talk about the connectivity. So we get a dual SIM, dual standby phone that has a micro USB 2.0 port at the bottom. It does 4G LTE, both SIMs, but only one at a time, can do 4G, the other does 2G. And we got LTE category 4, one of the SIMs is a micro SIM, the other a nano SIM, also doubling as the micro SD card slot. There's a usual array of Wi-Fi BGN, there's GPS, and there's calling with a ton of features as usual for ASUS. You can see here we got everything, speed dial, call recording, block calls, everything. Pretty solid noise cancelling, pretty loud volume and clear talks, so no problem in that regard. Now let's see how the downloads and uploads were handled, and this is proved here. So in 4G we got up to 68 MB/s downloads, 46 MB/s uploads, and in Wi-Fi 40 and 25 respectively. I would say they're mid-range results, so quite reasonable, nothing out of the ordinary. On the software front, we're dealing with Android Marshmallow with Zen UI 3.0 on top, typical carousel multitasking with screen pinning in the mix, and also typical a lot of options for the home screen. We got apps, widgets, layout, icons, preferences, badges, whatever you want, app lock, home screen options, transparency, blur, unread counts badge, and I could go on forever. A lot of personalization option as usual for Zen UI. Drop down portion includes notifications and quick settings as these lovely bubbles, and then we go to the settings where we find again many options. Do not disturb, Zen motion, which is gestures including a one hand mode. We got ASUS customized settings, themes, easy mode, kids mode, and fingerprint scanner, which can be used to answer calls, launch the camera, or capture a photo. And then we got your prints here. You can manage them via a pin and lock or unlock your device after you add a print. Keep in mind, adding a print takes a lot, about 30 steps or so, or even 40, many more than I've seen on other devices. Keep tapping, and sadly, in spite of that, in spite of the long setup, is not exactly a very fast unlocking. So here we go. It took an attempt, so 1, 2, 2 seconds, 1, 2, 2 seconds again, and 1, come on, 2. So basically 2 seconds is a bit too long compared to other modern devices, but in the end at least it's accurate when recognizing my print. Now as far as the apps go, we got 47 of them pre-installed, which is quite a bit, and at least some of them can be uninstalled. We find here Kindle from Amazon, Instagram, there's Mini Movie, there's Photo Collage, Puffin, Quick Memo, TripAdvisor, and Mobile Manager, as well as ASUS Web Storage. So we're done with the review. This is the ASUS ZenFone 3 Max. And on the pro side, the pros are the camera. During the day, the design is rather okay. We got pretty good selfies, actually surprisingly good selfies. The screen is also very good. The speaker at the back is quite loud. The battery is okay for the battery phone, and charging other phones is always a plus. On the con side, well, it's slightly below the predecessor when it comes to the battery life. There's a bit of lag here and there. The charging is kind of long. Benchmarks are on the low side, and the CPU and GPU are quite old, plus there's bloatware and there's no Android Nougat here. So in the end, I can qualify this as a semi-battery phone, a good selfie phone, and a good phone for watching videos. It's got a bright screen, it's crisp, it has pretty well calibrated colors, so why not use it as a video phone since it has a good battery. So video and selfies mean it's a youthful phone priced at around $150, so it's a good deal for the youngsters who want to do some selfies and videos and maybe some gaming, because it has a special Game Genie feature letting you stream your phone games to Twitch and YouTube. This has been the review of the ZenFone 3 Max from gsn1.com. Bye bye.